Greg is still off skiing and says the powder's been great, which is weird for this time of year in Colombia. Guess I don't really understand winter sports, but I'm happy to fill in again. And since I don't get the chance to do this too often, I want to do something different. See, sometimes we here on Fox News can be a little hard on President Biden. Every second it's, he called Republicans a threat to democracy this, or he seemed clueless while Afghanistan collapsed that, or middle-class people can't afford food. Can we stop complaining for just 1 second? I want to take this opportunity to highlight some of the most impressive things we've seen from Joe during his presidency. For one thing, he doesn't get enough credit for his devotion to the United States having its first female president. Yeah. A lot of people in the past may have said the future is female, but Biden is the only guy who thinks that that future is now.
Now, when President Harris and I took a virtual tour of a vaccination center in Arizona, she turned 30. And happy birthday, great president. All kidding aside, of course, President Harris is a proud Howard alum. Last week, President Harris and I stood in the United States Capitol.
Yeah, plenty of people want to see a female president, but he's the only guy who already does. And he can see ghosts, too.
God bless you all.
Everyone always complains about how the Democrats nominated an old white guy, but they didn't. They nominated the first Jewish Latinx commander-in-chief.
When Jill and I were Vice President and First Lady, Jill and I were honored to host the first Rosh Hashanah reception at the Naval Observatory. I probably went to shul more than many of you did. You all think I'm kidding. He can tell you I'm not. And so I was sort of raised in the Puerto Rican community at home, politically.
Ay, Dios mío. And of course, shalom. Meanwhile, he's the most transparent president we've ever had, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I mean, who lets us see behind the scenes like Joe Biden does?
Women are not without electoral or political power. It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line. Women are not without electoral and or political, or maybe precise, not and or political power.
Yeah. Well, other presidents just read what they're supposed to read off the teleprompter. Biden's not afraid to read everything. He really is a brave guy. Remember when Robert Frost talked about taking the road less traveled? No one does that better than Joe.
Exactly.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Haney?
This way, sir.
Oh, you going back the other way?
He's such a Washington outsider. He's always separating himself from the crowd. He also knows how to make people feel really special, even after they've passed.
And I want to thank all of you here for including bipartisan elected officials like Representative Governor, Senator Braun, Senator Booker, Representative Jackie. Are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here.
Yeah, while most people promise not to forget you when you're gone, Biden takes it a million steps further and forgets that you are gone. Plus, Biden is hot. If you don't believe me, look at this. That's right. Biden is so irresistibly sexy that even Christian icon, the Easter Bunny, can't resist touching him. Who can blame him? Biden's so banging, I let him sniff my extensions any day or night of the week. And let's not forget, he's been doing all of this while bravely battling a horrific illness.
The first frost you know what was happening. You'd had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
Yep, yeah. While Joe Biden's been fighting for you and me, he's also been fighting oil cancer. And he said so many of his friends have oil cancer too. And shame on us for ignoring it. So, after all of this, how can you not believe that Joe Biden is a strong, feminist sex symbol, a leader for the ages, a man of great repute? I mean, what would the alternative be? That our president is just some guy who screws up all the time? America would be in pretty bad shape if that were the case, unlike Joe Biden. Dr. Biden, how was your anniversary? All right, let's welcome tonight's guest. When people see him on the street, they immediately stick out their tongues and say, ah, host of Dr. Drew After Dark, Dr. Drew Pinsky. Why splurge on a Ferrari when you can have a perfectly good Corolla? Host of the Adam Carolla Show, Adam Carolla. She's always up in everybody's business. Host of American Dream Home on Fox Business, Cheryl Casoni. When he steps up to the plate, the pitcher runs home. The NWA's World Heavyweight Champion, Tyrus. All right. Dr. Drew, you are a doctor.
Yes, ma'am. Wow.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, I would just want to...
Greg's the only person ever said that to me before.
You're a doctor. Well,
Yes,
I was
yes.
going to ask you, how many people have you personally treated with oil cancer?
Oh, oil cancer. Like me and many of my friends, we all have oil cancer. But no, I can't say I've had any.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, shocking. So
Yeah.
what did you make of the year for Joe?
You know, Adam and I discuss both on our podcast and alone, try to figure out what is up with him.
Yeah.
We really do. And I lately am worried that he's starting to confabulate a little bit. And that's what people do when their faculty start to slip. I'm sorry, this is no harm intended. I hope this isn't true. But people will fill in with all, particularly if their personality is constructed a certain way, and politicians, generally their personality is constructed that way, where the truth is sort of, maybe not such an important matter.
Right.
But if
noticed that.
your cognitive functions decline, they will confabulate and sort of fill in with story.
Yeah, Adam, I remember we were all told that this would be, Biden would be like the return to normal. Did any of that look normal to you?
Well, the truth. It'd be about the truth, don't forget.
No, I mean, a couple of things. So everyone goes, well, he's getting older and, he's lost this few miles an hour off his fastball. But he's very specific in his lying. You know what I mean? Like, he's going, my Uncle Frank said to me, Joey, I need the Medal of Honor. And I went and got him the Medal of Honor. No, he was dead.
Yeah.
He never did that. Like, let me tell you what happens when you get older. I have a dad who's 91. He's like, you should ask... what the hell's my wife's name again? He doesn't go, Scranton, 1951, two dudes kissing. My dad said, Joey, this is the future. Like, that's very specific. And then also, his lying goes back to the 80s. He was like, top of my class.
Right.
I had a full scholarship, and I graduated with 3 degrees. Like, no, that's 80s lying. So it's not losing his faculties. It's more lying in a even more specific, bizarre way.
And to be fair, it's grandiose, right?
Yes.
Right.
This goes in a certain direction only.
Right, only, absolutely. Cheryl, is he actually insulting honest old people when anyone blames it on his age?
Look, I don't know what's going on with him. I'm just going to say he's slowed down a little bit, and I'm going to leave it there. But, the people that he's put around him, I mean, my gosh, our President Kamala Harris, apparently, who's the border czar, she's doing a fabulous job of taking care of the southern border. So that's a big win for him. This week, it's Pete Buttigieg, who's the real shining star in the administration. He appointed him. He's done a great job managing the skies and the airports everywhere. Southwest Airlines, big example there. So I don't really know what's going on with him, but all I can say is right now, margarine is 50% more expensive than it is. And if I cooked at home, I'd be really upset.
Yeah. I haven't done that in years.
Did you ever do that?
I did, like, years. Like, I'm talking maybe 8 or 9. Tyrus, do you think things will get better in 2023? People say that. They'll be like, new year, new me. Is Joe going to do that?
Well, first of all, I know the audience was confused by the learned doctor's assessment. And I think what he was trying to say in layperson terms, he's a artist. That's what he's trying to say. He's full of
I'm never worried. I'm
the
always
son of
worried
a
about
bitch is a liar, is what he was trying to
I'm
say.
always worried
He
about
lies.
Tyrus, I'm always worried about the word count. How many words we have. I don't use it all up in the first try.
But just with all the gaffes in your monologue that you showed, and that was the polite version,
Yeah.
okay?
That was this year.
Yeah.
And some of them.
Right. You would never say anything bad about an elderly person losing their faculties, but he's a liar.
Yeah.
He's an old liar. That's it.
He is an old
He's
liar.
such a liar.
He's such a liar.
Well, I mean, who's his visiting angel at this point? That's my question, right? I mean, there's got to be. Is it his wife? I mean, is it the Easter Bunny? Apparently, who's out there helping him like day to day?
Jewish guy,
'Cause I'm a
George
little confused.
Stephanopoulos or whatever, the Republican guy. He lies too.
Yeah, I mean,
Santos, yeah, all the way.
if any of us,
Like that's his real name.
if any of us, behaved anything close to that, we would immediately be sent home forever.
Fire.
All right, up next, Musk encourages questions and gives crybabies indigestion.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.